Okay, so my name's Tony Long, and I'm here today with Mark Williams from the Police Firearms Officers Association. And this is by way of an introduction to a little project that we've been looking to get off the ground, which is a podcast. And we're going to call it the Top Cover Podcast, which is the same as the PFOA magazine, the same title. And really, we're just here to introduce Mark and say welcome to the man shed. And just tell us very briefly what the PFOA is and how it started, and a little bit about what you've got in mind, reference to the podcast.
Yeah, nice one, Tony. And I love this place. In fact, I need to have a good look around one day and have a proper look at what's in here. Yeah, I mean, the PFOA, as you know, let's go back to sort of 2005, 6 onwards. I was at SO19 as it was then, became CO19, working with yourself and a number of amazing other people. And I was a Fed rep. I'd been an ARV officer. I had no aspirations to become an instructor or an SFO, as you know, because we spoke about it. And I became the Fed rep, and I got really interested in that role. I mean, it was something that I was really keen on doing because it was quite apparent at the time we had a number of guys and girls that had been involved in incidents where they'd been treated quite badly, I thought, by the organisation. A unit tried to look after people, but the organisation and the greater policing family never seemed to look after these people. And that's where I think my passion started with regards to post-incident and what happened to people. And as the years went on, a number of people were involved in incidents, including yourself, where again, I thought the system let them down. And as a Fed rep, I was very frustrated about I could kind of, look after you or look out for you, but what about your families, and people like that, because there wasn't enough support in place for them, and the job didn't do it. And I think people didn't trust the job, about looking after themselves, let alone their families. Yeah. And of course, the Federation was restricted what it could do financially to support people because we provided the legal cover, incredible legal cover. So the idea came up really to form an association. And we didn't know what it was going to be called or what it was going to look like. But I had this idea about this sort of support association, support organisation, where we had funds available to us where we could just do something ourselves to help people. And we didn't have to go for a whole load of red tape to get there and bureaucracy or whatever. We could just help people. And in 2009, we started. It was born at Lehman Street, at our headquarters there in the Fed office, the Police Firearms Officers Association. And strangely enough, and I told the story a few times, I looked around about, I knew that people in our own unit would go for it and trust what I was trying to do. But I thought, well, what would the rest of the country feel? And of course, we had that little thing about the gobby Fed rep from the Met, that kind of stuff. And we had that kind of reputation, I think, with 19, where we did a lot of stuff there. You guys did a lot of stuff. And, we were seen as sometimes, the boys from London, that kind of stuff. But I opened the almanac, the old, the police phone diary directory. And
started running around.
Yeah, well, look, the first one I opened up was Guernsey. And I'm thinking I'd never even been to Guernsey. And I spoke to JP. John Perry's a friend of ours. And they all joined. He joined up straight away and they all joined the PFOA. And that's where it all started, really.
Brilliant. And it's still going well.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not got any less controversial, is it? And,
I think
we're still getting situations that shouldn't really happen where people are being treated badly. And I know that you're doing good work there, but also that's now extended as well to their families and the like, isn't it, as well? So sickness in the family, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. And I think, touching on what you said there as well, is I think it's really important to remember and realise that it hasn't changed. No. It hasn't changed since your incident.
I would say it's got worse.
And I would probably agree with that, sadly. And I think there's a lot of people that have had good ideas and good intentions to throw support in. Yeah. But basically, it always comes down to the vociferous minority that gate crash these incidents that our people are involved in. Lawyers come in and then ups the ante. And sometimes, in fairness, so the police service doesn't deal with things as it should do. Maybe it needs to nip things in the bud and speak to the families, etc. Yeah. But it hasn't got any better, and we sit here today with one of our colleagues on a murder charge.
Yeah, and I've been giving a series of lectures recently, and it's apparent that mistakes that were made in my case is going back to 1985, but more recently, the incident that I was involved in 2005, the same mistakes have been made by the independent investigators, the Crown Prosecution Service, the whole legal system, but also the senior management within the police service. We're not learning lessons, unfortunately, and I think rapid promotion and senior officers moving from post to post to post, it's very difficult to carry on good policy. It gets lost, So, I mean, I think PFOA has a really important part to play in it. So, what's with the podcast? I've already done the first one, so
Yeah.
Tony Gray. So we'll be posting that shortly.
Yeah.
But beforehand, just explain what was the idea behind the podcast.
Well, quite rightly, Tony Gray was the first one, I think, without a shadow of a doubt. I think really the idea came about, we've had the magazine going for a few years now, and it is difficult doing a magazine because you need a lot of contributors, lots of different subjects, things like that, to keep everyone interested. And I know we'd spoken about podcasts. You've done podcasts before. I did one recently with Ollie Lawrence, Protect and Serve. And I just thought they're a really good way of keeping in contact with our membership, sending a message out there, helping to educate and inform, because it's not just policing people that will watch it. And I think get an idea of what we're like as individuals, really, because we are human beings behind the police, behind the PFOA, everything.
Yeah, I think that's really true. I mean, I've done quite a few podcasts now, and I see people passing comment on perhaps Instagram and everything, and it's just the realisation. He's actually he can be quite a funny bloke.
Yeah.
He's actually, because people just have a perception that you've got a shaved head and big muscles, not in this case.
Or this case.
And you like shooting things, and it's like, I was the unit cartoonist, wasn't I? Along with a couple of other people, underneath all the kit that you're wearing, you are a human being. And I think for a lot of people, that realisation is actually quite, quite important that they see that. So yeah.
And that's really what I want to get across as well with these, is that, because I know you're going to be interviewing all different types of people, and I just want the wider public, I guess, really, because we don't need to send this message particularly to policing about us as individuals, but certainly to the public, so they understand a bit about what armed policing is about, what the PFOA is about, but mostly about what armed policing is about and the people that are in armed policing, what they do and the work they do. So I think that's really important. And I think
we don't all eat crayons.
No.
Well, I like the blue ones.
I do. Yeah,
but the other ones.
But I mean, it's just it's like I had a conversation with someone about you the other day, and we talked about that you've been involved in a lot of stuff during your career, and that tends to be the focus when someone mentions your name. They talk about what you're involved in, i.e., the main instance. But I always remind them about the stuff you did, like for kit for ARV officers, well, because I was on the ARVs at the time when you bought leg holsters for us, didn't you, and things like that, and you designed our base that we went to, and it actually worked, because you had designed it. And I think, there's a lot of other stuff to you. You were very helpful to young firearms officers who were starting their career. Maybe they're shooting, the confidence had gone down, that kind of stuff. So I think there's a lot more to people.
Well, it is about, well, exactly. It's, I've had that sort of feedback quite a few times, is that I was kind of warned off of your tone. Because he's a SFO bloke. He won't really talk to the army blokes. And go, but you used to speak to me in the locker room and give me advice about kit and showing interest in my career. And I think it's really important. I think what podcasts I've seen of people they've actually worked with, and I've gone, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that about you. So yeah. So I think it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, honestly, I'm so excited about it. I think it's a good way, to communicate. And I was going to say they're fairly straightforward to put together, but looking at the effort we've gone to in here, for people like you and me, it's a bit more difficult, isn't it? But I like the idea of videoing them as well if we can. We're not going to always be able to do that, but I think I like the idea of doing that, get some interesting people really, and just sit here and just chat, and just relax and chat about things.
Bollocks.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what people want to hear. And the other thing is, for the guys and girls out there that are operational doing stuff, they can learn a bit about the history of what we were like, what it was like. Things have changed an awful lot, as we know. Look at the Police Federation, for example, that I was part of as well. So things have changed, but but you know, we can have a laugh and joke about it on the way through as well, because there's a lot of sadness involved in the work we've done as well. But I think it's equally, we want to have a laugh and joke about stuff and make it a bit lighthearted.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much for that, Mark. That's pretty much, what I wanted. I actually know what my job is now, so I shall try and perform to your requirements.
Brilliant.
Thanks,
Tone. Thank you.
It's a tough job, isn't it? All that training, hard graft, exams. It's impressive. And every call out totally different to the last. Making a difference feels good. But we know sometimes it's not easy. None of us, despite our training, is invincible. Situations won't always play out the way we think they will, and no amount of training can prepare us for them. That's why we created the PFOA. We'll be there if trouble strikes. We understand what it's like because we've been there and done it many times. So take good care out there. Make sure you have each other's back. And remember, we've always got yours.